what's the one mistake law firms are still making when it comes to marketing for 2025, and how can they avoid those mistakes?
Yeah, they really don't have what I call a differentiator, unique selling point, value proposition, whatever you want. The best way to explain it is this. When somebody calls you, they got two questions. Can you help me? And why should I choose you? Why should I hire you? All these other lawyers. And if you don't, that's your unique selling proposition or your differentiator. You need to have that really wound tight on why you should choose it, why we're different, what's different about us.
If you're an attorney in the pursuit of a successful law practice, fulfilling career, and the life of your dreams, this podcast has it all. Behind the Bench gives you great tools to overcome the unique challenges you face every day as a law firm owner. Welcome to Behind the Bench podcast with your host, Josh Konigsberg, author, partner, and co-founder of Law Firm Marketing Pros and lifelong entrepreneur.
Welcome to another captivating episode of Behind the Bench podcast. This is your host, Josh Konigsberg, and as many of you know, I'm a digital marketing expert specializing in helping lawyers generate more qualified leads online and thus enhance their law firm revenues. Join us as we explore the fascinating realm of law, featuring insightful discussions, seasoned lawyers, legal experts, and industry leaders. Special thank you to our sponsor, Law Firm Marketing Pros. They get you more leads, more clients, and more profits. Hey, Josh Konigsberg back with another exciting episode of Behind the Bench podcast. Today, we're honored to welcome Ken Hardison, known across the legal industry as the Millionaire Maker. With over 30 years of legal experience, Ken has not only built and sold multiple seven-figure law firms, has also helped hundreds of attorneys double, triple, and even quadruple their growth through smart marketing and strategic law firm management. As the founder of PILMMA, Personal Injury Lawyers Marketing and Management Association, Ken has become a trusted advisor and coach to lawyers across the country. His newest book, Hiring Blueprint: Finding, Hiring, Training, and Retaining A-plus Team Members, offers a deep step-by-step guide to building high-performance law firm teams. Ken, we're thrilled to have you here today.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Ken, let's just dive right in. So you started your entrepreneurial career very, very young. This is a great story. Can you please share with our audience a bit about your humble beginnings and the lessons it's taught you?
Yeah. I'll try to make it quick. I did come up from humble beginnings. I was, my mother had a 8th grade education. My father had a 4th grade education. I pretty much was working after 10 years old. I was working in the back of fields and then working in a grocery store, and then became a butcher. And this was during high school and college. And pretty much my senior year, my father got a new job and had to move away. And I talked him into letting me stay in my hometown of Dunn because I had a job cutting meat and I had a girlfriend, and I was captain of the football team. And I really wanted to finish out my career football there at Dunn High. And he told me I could do it, but I was on my own. He wasn't going to support me. So, from there, went to college, got married my sophomore year, went to law school, had 2 kids during law school, worked part-time, and then went out and worked with another firm that lasted just about 3 months. I got mad and quit. And I'm just not a good person to work for somebody else, I guess. And started my own law firm with $2,500. And that was in 1982. In a small town, about 10,000 people. After about 2 years, I had an oldest firm there, asked me to come in. They made me a partner. I took that law firm just by grit and like 5 times the revenue in about 6 years. And we had a general practice. I did PI, I did criminal, did some government contract work. We were full service. There was about 4 lawyers. So I'm going to court one day. I noticed that our PI practices was kind of doing like this, then it kind of leveled off. And it started going down. And I couldn't figure out because we were better. I was getting bigger settlements. I was getting bigger verdicts. And I go to DUI, and this guy walks in with crutches. We'll call him Joe. I don't remember his name. I said, "What happened, Joe?" He said, "Well, I got T-boned by this semi." I said, "Well, I do it." He said, "Yeah, but I hired this guy off TV. I figured he must be good if he's on TV." And I said, "Shit." So we go try his case. I win his case. He blew like a 13, and I got it kicked out of court. Went back to the office, and I sat down with my 2 partners. I said, we've got to change with the times. I said, I told them about the case that we should have got. And they said, well, we just think marketing is unprofessional and we're not going to do it. And this is like in 94, 95, not 95. So I'd been with them about 13 years. We're doing all right. I mean, I was making a good living. I was probably netting back then a couple $100,000, which wasn't bad back in the 90s. But I could see that we had to change. Things were going the wrong way. Instead of going up, they were going down. So after about 6 months of back and forth, I took one associate and 3 staff, and I started my own law firm. And I went out and borrowed everything I could borrow. I got $500,000 line of credit. I think it was in the 95, first in 96. I read every book I could read on marketing. I went to every event I could go to on marketing. It had nothing to do with lawyers because there was no lawyers out there doing what I do now. Now there is, but there won't back then, 30 years ago. Went on TV, and back then it was easy. I'm not going to lie about it. You didn't have to be the smartest, sharpest pencil in the room to succeed with TV. We took it from the first year, I think we did like $500,000. And then like 5 years later, we did $6 million. Went from me and the associate to 13 lawyers and like 47 staff. And I tried a lot of things. Half of them didn't work, but we really pounded it hard. And I put all the money back into it. We had over 100% growth just about every year. I mean, it was between 80 and 100, which caused some problems, cash flow. But I don't know. Then I had me and my partner broke up in 2005. And that was another good experience, learning experience, but I won't go into that. And then, I built it up, and then I kind of got out of cases in 2006. I don't know. And I just woke up one morning and I said, I like building things, but I hate really I can teach and manage it, and I know what you're supposed to do, but I hate managing. I like building stuff. I like creating stuff. So I sold it out to my then partner, and I financed the whole deal. I mean, he had to pay me a dime down. And I moved to Myrtle Beach, was going to retire from Raleigh. And I played a lot of golf and fished a lot for about 6 months. And I woke up one morning, I told my wife, I said, I'm bored shitless. I said, and I had lawyers calling me, all across the country saying, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? How'd you grow so fast? I got to thinking about it. And I said, I could charge for this. I had been running a little mastermind, just like 6 or 7 lawyers back in 2006 or 7. It was just it was nothing formal, it was just to get together. And we'd share what was working and what was not working, and I'm like a mini board of advisors to help each other out. I started PILMMA kind of as a hobby, and then it kind of turned into a big business, and we've been going on now for 15 years. And we got members from Canada, Alaska, Hawaii. I think all the states except maybe 4 or 5 states we don't have members from. In the meantime, though, I was at one of my conferences. I put on a lot of conferences. And one of the lawyers said, well, I was telling my story, said, I don't have access to $500,000. I said, well, what do you have access to? He said, I could do it with $6,000 a month. So I got to thinking, I said, could you do it for $6,000 a month? So I started another law firm in South Carolina, just disability, because I didn't have license. I didn't want to go take the bar again. I was too old. I just spent $6,000 a month on marketing. That was it. I limited myself. And in 2 years, we grew that to about 800 something cases. And I didn't know anybody down here either, because I moved down here like 2010. It was like 2011 or 12 when I started it. It was doing okay, but I was looking at the numbers. Disability works very low margins, like 15%, 14%, which is not, it's good for most businesses, but PI practice, you can have 25, 35%, 40% profit margins. And I said, to do this the way I want to do it, I might have to have friggin' 80 employees. And I said, that's one of the reasons I sold my last firm, because I don't like so many employees, like PILMMA today, we got 10 employees, and it's a multi-million-dollar business, but it's just more of a lifestyle. And I sold that one too, not as much as I did the first one, but so we've just been rocking and rolling along with PILMMA, and I got some really good people with me now, and we do masterminds. I got 7 different masterminds. I got 3 different levels. 80% of them are PI lawyers, but I got some workers' comp. I got some disability. I got some employment lawyers.
So that's an amazing story and amazing journey, Ken. Can I ask you just a couple questions about PILMMA for those listeners who may not be familiar? And hey, maybe you'll pick up a couple new members, right? So when you founded it, you help. Your initial concept was to help lawyers build profitable firms so they could, in essence, regain some freedom, right? So tell them a little bit more about what PILMMA is about and how you're helping attorneys grow their law firm smarter today.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was doing stuff, it was trial and error. And it was I wasted a lot of money trying stuff, right? Because there was your competitor's not going to tell you, right? I wouldn't.
Right.
So I had this ideal, what's success is different to different people. Some people want to own the world. Some people just want a good living and freedom to be with their family and go do things. And I think you can do both. And it's not just working hard, it's working smarter. I look at PILMMA as like, we got two different levels. We got a gold membership, which is pretty economical. And that's usually the smaller firms. But we get them in there and teach them the basics so that it shortens their learning curve massively. We know what is true and tried. We have a marketing roundtable every month where we teach new marketing stuff. And one of the people that teach that, they're in a big firm up in Virginia Beach. She's the marketing director. She's got like 4 people works for her, Cassie Lewis. And then we got a management roundtable where we teach management. I do that part of it. And then Mickey Love, who's everybody knows she's like a rock star. I mean, she knows more than I know about management. And then we've got an intake training, because what we found was when I first started, I did a lot of consulting too, and go to people's firms and look at them and give them, map them out a strategy of this, what you need to do. This is a priority. I don't do that anymore because I'm just getting older and don't want to travel as much, just to be honest. And there's other people that can do it that I can refer them to that'll do a great job. And then we put out a magazine every month with great articles. I write an article every month, and we have stuff on marketing management. I do a Q&A every month where you can get on a Zoom meet and ask me anything you want to. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it out or send you somebody that can help you. We got a listserv so you can go on there anytime and refer each other back and forth cases. But really the big deal is if they got an issue, they can put it out there, or somebody needs a form or a policy manual, or they're looking at a vendor. They don't know if the vendor's, blowing smoke or they can really perform. And so people, they'll loud out, yeah, they're great, or they'll run. They'll take your money, they won't, they overpromise. So we have all that. And then we have a vault full of, I did about 30 videos on just about everything from A to Z, how to differentiate yourself, how to get referrals from lawyers, from past clients, from doctors, from therapists, how to get Google reviews, how to get LSAs, how to get the top of PPCs, how to get on maps, what KPIs are important, how should you structure your firm? I mean, what should be the time limit, for certain things, what benchmarks, what your average fee should be, how much a percentage of your gross should you spend on associates, how much should you spend on staff, how much should you spend on marketing, what should your net profit be? And then look at your numbers, look at what percentage of cases are you signing up that you want, not just that call, but that you want. And we try to help people get to 92%. That's considered like the golden. And most lawyers will tell me, I sign up every case I want, until we do ghost calls. And then we play it back to them, and they get sick, to their stomach, because they probably do actually sign up every case they want, but 98% of lawyers do not talk to every potential client. And that's the problem. That's the problem.
It's a leaky bucket on multiple levels. Right?
Yeah, so that's the deal. And then we do mastermind program where we meet 3 times in person. You have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and it's market exclusive, so nobody from your market can be there. We spend 2 days in nice places. We just got back from Charleston. We're going to Montreal in July and Hawaii in November. And they share what's working and not working. They have about an hour, 45 minutes an hour in marketing management, and then what challenges they're having. And you usually have about 16 firms, hour piece, 2 days, right? And I got it divided up between people that are doing under 2 million in revenues, 2 to 10 and over 10. I got 3 groups over 10. I got 3 groups 2 to 10. I got 1 group under 2. Because they got different problems. What we found out over the years is the people under 2 million, they're just trying to figure out how to get cases. I mean, they have not conquered on how to get a steady pipeline of cases coming every month. And then once you get over 2 million, you're still working on that, but then you got other problems of how the bandwidth to handle this, and how to hire people, how to train people, onboarding people, culture, processes, procedures, systems, KPIs. And then when they get over 10 million, they've definitely got figured out how to get cases, or they wouldn't be making that kind of money. But they're looking for that little thing, 1% here, 2% here. I do a presentation where change one thing 2%, another 1%, and it increases your net by 18%. And that's hard to believe. And that's part of my saying. One of my mentors told me, he said, small hinges can open big doors sometimes. Yep. So you think a little bit here, and that's what those guys, because when you're doing 20, 30 million, 2% is a big number, right? That's a big number. If you're signing up 80% of your cases versus 90% of your cases, that's a big deal if you're signing up 200 cases a month, right?
Yep.
It's millions of dollars. So they're looking for that little edge, and they want to stay ahead of the curve. They want to be the leader in their market. They want to try the next great thing. Fortunately, because I've been around so long and so old, I have a lot of people come to me with new stuff that they're trying, and they'll let our mastermind members beta test it because they're especially the ones that are over 10 million. They're tough audience. I mean, they don't BS. I mean, they'll tell me right quick, and if they love it, then I'll promote it. If they don't love it, then I just don't say nothing bad. I just don't say anything, So yeah, that's what it is. I mean, and the thing about us, we're the oldest, we're the largest, and I do this because I just used to hate it when vendors would say, "I want you to sign a year contract or a 2-year contract." Everything we do at PILMMA is money back guarantee. You join the gold member, you got 90 days. You don't like it, we'll give you full refund. Mastermind, you go to the first meeting, you don't like it, we'll give you money back. In 15 years, I've never had anybody ask for the mastermind money back. At a conference, it's the same way. We're having a conference April 29th through May the 2nd. Been doing that for 14, 15, like it's 15th year. First day you're not happy, I'll give you money back plus up to $1,000 worth of your documented travel and lodging expenses. Never had nobody take me up on that. I have had some people take me up on gold. And most of the time they say it looks great, but I just don't have time.
So Ken, it sounds like you're describing a coaching group, but that being said, really coaching specific for marketing with some management.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
You got to get the cases first. I mean, I tell the story. I mean, this is like when I started, I went from signing, when I put that $500,000 in TV, I went from signing up 20 cases a month to 120 cases a month in 90 days.
There you go.
I had to cut it off, man. I didn't have the infrastructure. I did not have the infrastructure. It was, people were complaining, firing me. I had to come in, and I had to hire an expert to come in. Thank God. And she had worked with another firm that built a big firm up, and she come in and she said, you're disorganized. And I was. Yeah, right. And so we got systems, processes. We had to hire some more people, and then we turned back on the machine, and it was like, it's a little different today. Back then, we didn't have internet. We didn't have, all we had was billboards, TV, and yellow pages. We did not have 500 stations. We didn't have streaming. We didn't have internet. We didn't have social media. It's a lot more challenging today, I think, than when I was doing it, to be honest with you.
Well, that's a great segue to my next question. So what you've done is you've combined your grassroots method of what I'll call traditional marketing with digital strategies, which would include SEO, PPC, the various components of PPC, social media, etc. Which of these do you think an aggressive, growth-minded attorney should prioritize today to get meaningful results?
Of course, it depends on budget. I mean, I think everybody should have some SEO, some basic SEO, because it's going to help you with your maps. And I think maps is very important, of course. And to get on the maps, you got to claim your business page. And I think you need to post a few things there so that you can get the Google reviews and get the maps and be on maps. And you got to get Google reviews to get on maps. It ain't one thing. It's a bunch of little things.
Sure it is. Mm-hmm.
And I think that is all important, because I think the thing you really right now that's working the best for our members is local service ads. And we got some people that are doing terrible at it, and it's usually because of their intake, the way they're doing them. It's not because Google is real funky on this stuff, and they're wanting to feed lawyers that are not disputing claims and that answer the phone real quick. And we've had lawyers get, I call it, thrown in the dungeon because they're like something like they say we're open 24/7, but they got nobody answering the phone at night, or somebody, or their answering service misses it, right?
Right.
And so what happens is, if you miss a call, and really you need to answer it within the first 2 rings, and they're recording this, and like you don't want to say, no, we don't handle this, or we can't handle this. What I've been told, and I don't know, who knows what Google's doing, but I don't think they're going to feed you as much. There's a lot of little.
Ken, that's because they lose revenue. They don't want to lose the revenue. So they're going to put the people who are generating the most revenue for them in the forefront.
Yeah. And so right now, I think of the digital, but to get LSAs, you got to have that other stuff I said, right?
Yeah.
And so, because at one time, and this was just me, I was questioning whether SEO was worth it anymore, because you go to Google search for PI lawyer near me, and then you got the LSAs, you got the PPC, you got the maps, and you could be in the top 3 of organic and still like be number 12 to 15. But some wise person told me, well, Ken, that's true, but if you don't do the SEO, you can't get into the maps, you can't get in that. And what you really want to do is be to where you're on LSAs, you at least got the PPC, you're on the maps, and you're in the top 3 in organic. When you do that, then people they're gonna pick up the phone. They're gonna search you and pick up the phone and call you.
Page 1 dominance. The more places you are at the top of page 1 of Google for what we're going to say money keywords, you win. So let me ask this. So, because you see so many law firms with PILMMA and with your life experience, what's the one mistake law firms are still making when it comes to marketing for 2025, and how can they avoid those mistakes?
Yeah, I think, and it's such a basic thing, but it's such a hard thing, and I think that's why most lawyers avoid it. They really don't have what I call a differentiator, unique selling point, value proposition, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. The best way to explain it is this: when somebody calls you, they got 2 questions. Can you help me? And why should I choose you? Why should I hire you up? All these other lawyers. And if you don't, that's your unique selling proposition or your differentiator. You need to have that really wound tight on why you should choose it, why we're different, what's different about us. Like with my firm, I had the 30-day client service satisfaction guarantee. That stood me out. Why should you hire me? Because you can hire us, and if you don't like the way we treat you in your case for 30 days, you can get your file, no fees, no cost. That set us apart from everybody else in our market. When I went to that, no increased marketing costs, 23% increase in cases.
Amazing.
Just for doing that one thing. And, I had tested some other things that don't do as good, but that one did good. But everybody says, we got 300 years experience, we fight, we're tough, we care. They hear all that shit. You got to have something that's different. And there's a great book out there, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's by a guy named Brody, Brodi. It shows you 10 ways to go out and try to figure out what's your differentiator or unique. He calls it unique selling proposition. But you got to have something. And it was funny. I was in the mastermind, and Mickey Love was helping me. And we were talking about people hiring, refer to lawyers. I always say know, like, and trust. And she says, well, when you're doing the advertising marketing, it's know, like, and remember. Remember, because that's the problem too. Second biggest problem I see, and I've seen it, and it's intake. When I was doing consulting work, like I said earlier, I knew I could bring value because everybody's intake, if they had a department, sucked. And it's so funny. I'd have talked to a lot of vendors, and they say, yeah, I'm getting them this many leads, but they're saying that we're not doing anything. And I said, well, do some ghost calls and show them why they're not signing up in cases. If you're getting the leads, last year at our summit, we had a guy there that did a test. He filled out a form to every law firm that attended the summit. 25% of them never responded. Only 30% of them responded within 30 minutes. And really, you got 2 to 5 minutes.
You got 2 to 5 minutes. That's right.
They're going somewhere else. So I wonder how many millions of dollars have been lost by somebody not answering that form filled out or that social media message. I just wonder.
So Harvard Business School did a study on this that's available. All you do is have to research it, and you're right on point with what they said. So actually, that's a great segue again into my next question, and you probably answered this, but what's the most common internal barrier that prevents an aggressive, growth-minded lawyer from breaking through to that next level? And how do you help them shift into that mode from maybe just under 2 million and they're barely surviving and they're worried about their next case, et cetera, et cetera? So would you say the internal barrier is intake?
That's the number one thing you got to work on. Yeah. I think, but I think it's something as far as in yourself. I think you got to have the mindset See, if you got the right mindset, I think anybody can build a firm up to 10 million. After that, you got to do some other things just off of true grit and perseverance. But here's the deal. Most lawyers, when they send you to law, when you go to law school, it's like going to basic camp in the Army or Marines. They break you down and build you back up, your mind, on how to think analytically, how to look at the worst case scenario. So when you're looking at these things, you're looking at it very pessimistically, and you're looking at what can go wrong instead of what can go right. I really believe that. So most lawyers, when they're saying, well, if I do that, this could happen, that could happen, So I don't really want to spend that money on this. So I think sometimes it's your own mindset. You've got a limited mindset. You've got to have a growth mindset. And I've seen this. I've seen really good lawyers, but they or want to be a perfectionist. I mean, you got to do things right or you get sued for malpractice. I understand that. You got ethics and all that. But I think letting go and surrounding yourself with other people and delegating instead of trying to do it all yourself, because you can't go but so much on your own. You gotta,
that's right.
And be honest with yourself. Listen, I know what my strengths is marketing and seeing the big picture. I can teach management all day, but I'm not good at it because I want everybody to like me and I'm very impatient. Okay. And that's kind of counterintuitive, but the truth is, I just don't like it. I mean, I'd rather.
But you're a creator, and that's why.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's really, look, if you analogize it to football, right? That's why you've got a quarterback and you got offensive linemen and running backs, right?
Right.
So you stay in your lane and you're great at what you do, clearly from your success. So let me ask you this: so you're obviously well known across the country for these fantastic events that PILMMA puts on, the super summits and the, internet domination boot camps and et cetera. So what makes these events so impactful for an attorney who's looking for some answers, and why does it matter in today's digital world?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've been to a lot of events and I've spoken to a lot of events, and I think what makes ours different is that we're no fluff. It's all practical, take home, implementable, if that is a word. It's stuff that you can take home and implement. I'm not for a lot of the smoke and mirrors and the splashy lights or getting a superstar to come and speak at my event. I don't give CLE credits. Our event's for somebody who wants to go in and learn some stuff to take it back home and implement it and see a difference. And our biggest complaint, believe it or not, I know you're going to think I'm kidding, but is that we have too much. What I'm saying is, I have lawyers. I ask them at the end, I said, how many things you got a list? Because I asked them to make a list of things they're going to do when they go home. And they'll be over half the room with over 20 things that they want to implement.
Yeah, right.
And
can't get it done.
In fact, this year at the end of it, I'm going to show them how to break it down into quarters and prioritize things and get stuff done, because it's all about strategic planning and quarterly planning. There's a great book out there, The 12-Week Year, that I read about 7-8 years ago, and I started implementing that along with some of my stuff I learned from Burn Harness with Scaling Up, kind of combine the two, and I've kind of come up with a system, and then at PILMMA, we get more done in a month and 3 months than we used to get done in a year because of doing that. And it's
amazing.
But yeah, I mean, I think our stuff is like, we got over half our speakers are lawyers that have agreed to share how they got from, like, I got one lawyer will share how he got from $300,000 a year to $16 million last year. Another one went from him and his wife to 200 employees now. How one lawyer doubled his net revenue in 1 year, 2 years, and he was doing, 20 million. How one lawyer, doubled his practice 3 years in a row. And these are all our masterminds, and they've agreed to share. And of course, one of the things they're going to say is cause the mastermind, because they got a lot of help. They got a lot of shortcuts, but a lot of it is they're very gritty. They're very focused. You got to have a laser focus too to be successful. You can't get sidetracked. That's one of my issues. I'm an entrepreneur, so I like the next shiny object out there. I'm grabbing it like a cat, and you got to be focused. You got to put your blinders on and go for it. Although you still got to be able to pivot. Like when COVID came, you can't just, you got to pivot sometimes. But the deal is, you follow through on things to get things done. You know.
So as you look back over the years that you spent building your own law firms and scaling them, what's the one lesson that you've learned the hard way that you wish more attorneys understood earlier in their journey?
You can't do it all by yourself. You need to leverage your strengths and delegate your weaknesses. And when I first started out, I said, well, I'm weak at this, so I need to just really just spend a lot of time on it and try to get better at it and learn and all this. What your strength is what you really love doing and gets you excited and you look forward to. There's some things you can't delegate. You can't delegate the checkbook. I don't think you can delegate. And what I mean by that is just don't turn your books to somebody over, you end up sounding like these basketball players, having to file bankruptcy or get, scammed. And I never would delegate my message. I wanted the message to be from my heart, my brain, whatever my differentiator. I wanted that to come from me. Processes, systems, managing people. I can delegate that all day. I'm good with it. I mean, I'm good with it. I just want to manage the people that are managing the people. I don't, and I can do that with maybe I have one weekly meeting. It's all executive meeting, lasts 1 hour. And then I can sit back and think about this new program or this, or I want to try this new marketing, or I can read this thing, or,
Love it.
Write these articles or whatever, research.
So, and great stuff. And by the way, I'm the same way. So, to get the creative juices flowing, that's where the fun is, at least for me, right?
Yeah, it is.
Right. So you mentioned a couple of members that have grown exponentially. Can you talk about one that really implemented the strategies in action, that you saw real change, that made the difference, that you could just take a little bit deeper dive into their story without mentioning names?
Yeah. And he don't mind me mentioning his name because he spoke at the summit last year and then also spoke at the North Carolina Advocates of Justice. It's Ben Leader from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Old law firm, great law firm. They get big verdicts. He joined PILMMA 3 years ago, and I went there. I think I did one of my last consults. I went down there and spent a couple of days with them. You don't have no intake people. You have no intake system. You have no checks and balances. And so we worked on that, and he hired a company to come in and audit it. And then they trained their people, and they hired like 2 dedicated intake people. That year before he joined PILMMA, they signed up 161 cases. They spent no extra money on marketing. The next year, they signed 480 cases up. That's real numbers.
Yeah.
Now, he had to spend some money for the intake people in that, but probably less than $100,000 to get another 300 cases. Just say, I don't know what their average fee is, but say it's $10,000. That's $3 million. That's pretty substantial in like 2 years.
Yeah, sure it is. It's amazing how often we see, and I'm sure you see it, and we're going to call it leaky bucket, whether the leaky bucket's the CRM, whether it is the intake, right? And so I probably should do a separate podcast just on that, but we're going to run out of time.
Leakage. There's always leakage. I compare intake like playing golf, and if you play golf, you know what I'm talking about. You feel like you go out one day and you shoot you have 3 rounds where you're shooting below 80, and you think, well, I got this shit. Then all of a sudden you shoot a 96, and you're thinking, what happened? And I've done that. I mean, and the deal is, intake is a constant. You got to be on it. You can never take your eyes off of it. You got to have somebody that's looking at it, listening to calls, throwing money out the window. I mean, I actually did this in my intake department. This has been years ago. I had one in 98, and I went to the bank and got $100 bills. I called a meeting and I rolled it up and I threw it on the table. I said, there's $8,000. Who wants to throw it out the window? They looked at me like I was crazy. I said, well, evidently, because when you mess up these calls and don't close a client, the case we want, that's what you're doing. You're throwing $8,000 out the window. I was trying to make a statement. I probably went too far, but I was really upset. I wanted them to see that this is just missing a case. This is not poker chips. This is real money. And I think they got it, and
so you didn't go, if they got it, you didn't go too far, right? So, yeah. So, obviously, let's talk a little bit about trends and developments, right? Because there's obviously a lot of noise in legal marketing with the AI tools and a new platform, SEO tricks, because SEO is constantly changing with the Google algorithm updates and all that. So what should an aggressive growth-minded law firm really be focusing on right now to dominate? And maybe we already discussed this.
Well, LSAs, but I think too, and I think you'll find people back and forth on this, and I don't know what your position on it is, but we use AI. I think you need to leverage AI as much as possible. Don't let it replace the human beings per se, but let it make them more productive. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
I think you got to. I think you can use, I hear some SEO guys say, we just don't use AI. I think if I was doing it, I would use AI to come up with outlines for content or stuff, or say, or give me something, what's the most, and then use that, and then, draft it up myself or whatever. And there's got so many, and you know them better than I do, but they got a lot of different things down that can mix it up. You can take AI, you can take ChatGPT, create this thing, and then put it to another one, and it mixes it up where it can't be detected. It says, I don't know. I mean, I'm no techie. I just tell you, I know what they say, but I do know this. We use Opus for videos, and I got a lot of lawyers that use it. That cut. You go in the studio and cut like an hour, shoot it over there, and it just fits it up into little snippets and does everything. It's very quick, and I just think that AI, there's so many ways to use it. I mean, there's this, I use this thing called Rival Flow to look at, and it looks at other people, my competitors' websites, and tells me what I need to be, where they're beating me at, and I think law firms could use that. I'm sure and here's the thing, we're at the tip of the iceberg.
Yep. This
stuff is going to get better and better. Here's what I think is going to happen. And I thought it never would, but I within the next 12 months, intake department is going to be taken over by AI voice agents.
Yep.
It's already kind of happening now in some industries, and I thought it would never happen. I said, I just don't think it's as good, but I've listened to them, and they're damn good.
It's not only
you know what I'm saying?
They don't really make mistakes. Again, we could go down that rabbit hole and talk about AI for an hour, right? So
yeah, we could.
We all need to be paying attention to it, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. And because I mean, I think we got two people speaking on AI at our conference. One for just how to use it for marketing, and one how to use it in their office, chronologies, how to use it in discovery, how to use it with demands, how to use it in disbursements, how they're using it to find witnesses. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I'll say this about AI, and I've been saying this about new technologies my entire entrepreneurial career. So back in the day, you know how you could tell who the pioneers were? They were the ones with the arrows in their back. Okay, so move forward cautiously. I'm just going to say that because that's what we've done at Law Firm Marketing Pros. Ken, I want to ask you this last question, and then we're going to move on to the lightning round, which I absolutely love. It's my favorite part of the podcast. But so this is really advice for attorneys wanting to grow aggressively. So based on your journey and everything that you've learned, what is one piece of advice that you would give that you would want to have everyone overcome a challenge, scale their firm, and build it to the law firm of their dreams?
Okay, restate that because that was a mouthful.
Okay.
So what do you say, the one thing that they should do or not do? Or
yeah.
what?
So based on your journey, again, everything that you've learned, what piece of advice can you give the up and coming growth minded? And we know personal injury attorneys are all growth minded, right? Because there's going to be challenges in scaling your firm. That's why you have segmented your PILMMA into 3 segments, right? So what are the challenges, the piece of advice to overcome the challenges to help build that law firm of their dreams?
Well, I'm going to come out from left field on this one, but this is what I really believe. I believe if you put the client, and it's got nothing to do with marketing, and then I'll say something about marketing, but what I found in PILMMA, what I found in my law firm is I really preach client service. J. Abraham calls it the preeminence. Everything we do is for the betterment of our clients. When you can instill that in your firm where everybody believes it and does it and preaches it and does it and lives it, like I had a rule, put grandma at the end of every sentence. If you would talk to your grandmother like that, don't talk to our clients like that. And here's the deal. I was spending, this is back in, 2000, I was spending $2 million a year on the marketing, but still 42% of our cases came from past clients, not lawyers, not doctors, past clients. So my big deal, and you can look at my differentiator was, client service. When we had a Bill of Rights for clients, we had a advocates hotline, and this is back 30 years ago, man. I was all about the client. And what I found was I didn't worry about the money so much as far as that wasn't my litmus test. I wanted to make profit on all that. But what I'm saying is to grow the firm, I was always thinking about the client, and then everything else worked out because I got more referrals, and had raving fans, and that's kind of worked that way with PILMMA. That's why I do money back on everything. I don't nobody to be pissed off or say a bad thing about Ken Hardison. I want nothing but good things said. So if I do it that way, then nobody can complain. I guess they can, but they can't say that I scammed them or took their money, and I can do that because it's not like selling a widget or having to hire 30 people to do something for somebody, build a website. It's a little easier for me so I can get by with it, right? I've got some time in it, but not that much. But we did that and I always look that way with the law firm. 30 days, what are you doing? You're sending out notices, you find out who the insurance company is. It's not that much, and I didn't tell you that. I did that for like 7 or 10 years. I had 2 people ask for the cases back, but we went up 22%, 22, 23, something like that. I had 2 people come back and ask for the files, and both times it was because their spouse said that they had to go use their lawyer, because they hired me without checking with the spouse.
Can't compete with that.
No. So I was good with that. It wasn't because we did something wrong or they didn't like us,
Right.
So, and I know that sounds like you were expecting something like, oh, you got to do this great thing in marketing, but really business is about relationships. If you think about it,
100%.
More relationships you can build, and like look at Starbucks, the experience, Chick-fil-A, the experience, great businesses, great business models.
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's kind of the way I look at it.
So now it's time to move on to our lightning round where people get to know you, like you, and trust you, Ken. So I'm just going to ask you a series of questions. Just answer them quickly, whatever pops into your mind, okay?
Yeah.
So what never fails to make you laugh?
When a lawyer tells me he signs up every case he wants.
Okay. What's the best compliment you ever got?
I was speaking at an event to paralegals in Winston-Salem about 30 years ago, and they came up to me and says, "You really don't act like a lawyer." And I said, "I take that as a compliment."
Yeah, right. No offense to you lawyers listening.
Yeah. And I'm a lawyer too. Yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is, I think sometimes lawyers, we tend to talk down to people, and I think that's always been one of my good deals or one of my good traits is I could get down on any level. I think it's because I came up so poor. I can talk to somebody with a PhD, but I can also relate to somebody that's sitting there working in a mill, because my parents worked. My mother worked in a shirt factory. My daddy worked in a lumber yard. So I can relate to anybody, I think, So that made me feel good, actually. So
that's a wonderful little story there. So what person that you would like to trade places with for one day?
Nobody. I love my life. I really do. I don't want to be nobody else. I want to be me.
All right. What's your guilty pleasure?
Probably Woodford Reserve.
Okay. I like it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. What's the biggest risk you ever took?
Starting that law firm in 96, because I had everything I own mortgaged to the hilt.
Okay.
And had nobody to really guide me. I just went on blind faith. Yeah, that was the biggest risk I ever took. And I almost failed too, come that close, because
really?
I didn't, because I put all my money in marketing and didn't plan for infrastructure and then the cash flow. But when it turned, man. And it was like, but that was the biggest mistake I made. I didn't put enough aside for infrastructure because I didn't know it was going to go from 100 to, from 20 to 120, that quick, like in 90 days. I didn't realize it was going to be that.
It breaks where the wheels fall off, right? So
yeah.
All right. So what's the worst piece of advice you ever got?
Yeah. Probably the worst piece of advice, and I didn't take it, was, this internet's just a fad. Don't worry about it. I jumped on it very early, like 2000.
It's a fad. I heard that back in the day too.
Yeah. It's just a fad. Don't worry about it. I invested a lot, and my partner wasn't real crazy about it, but I said, listen, we need to get on the ground floor of this. I see, and that's what I'm telling all my lawyers in PILMMA now. Embrace this AI. Listen, you ain't got to do everything, but be very learn all you can about it and play with it. I ain't saying throw all the marbles in on it, but a lot of companies are shaking down. There's so many there's one every other day, but the leaders are coming to the top now. The cream is rising to the top. And I think we'll know more by the end of the year.
I agree.
It's been but we're getting there.
So what do you wish you were better at dealing with?
I wish I was better with dealing with people that don't act as fast as I want them to.
Yeah.
I'm always been I'm very like I believe in urgency. I don't believe in my wife says I get more done than any man she's ever seen in her life.
Amazing.
Because I'll have it done while you're talking about it, because, let's just go do it. We can talk it to death or we can do it. I really can't handle analysis paralysis. It drives me nuts.
Me too.
I mean, I want people to make a decision, whether it's for me or against me. I just want a decision so I can move forward.
Yep. What was your favorite childhood movie?
Oh, probably Elvis Presley movies. You would think I'd say some cartoon, but I used to go watch Elvis Presley. It was a quarter when I used to go. Yeah, I remember that. Viva Las Vegas.
Wow. Quarter.
Yeah. That's what it costs to go to a movie, a quarter.
That's amazing. What's the one book that changed your life?
E-Myth. And there's two. First one, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Second was E-Myth by Gerber.
Yeah. Love them both.
There's a lot of good books, though, out there. But yeah, I think those two were like game changers for me. Got me thinking different. Got me thinking a lot different.
Yep. Good stuff. Classics. Okay. So tell us something that most people don't know about you.
More people do now, but unless you know, I love to sing karaoke.
I know you do.
Yeah. Not everybody knows that, but,
right.
And I'm trying to think of something else. Probably more people know about that. This probably nobody knows. I'm the first person in my whole family in the last 100 years. I was the first one to go to college, much less law school.
Wow. Okay.
So that's probably a little
super impressive too, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations. Okay. So as we wrap it up, can you please tell our listeners what's the best way to get to know you more and more about PILMMA?
Yeah, it's info at PILMMA.org, PILMMA. And I mean, we got I don't know when you're going to air this, we got a event coming on April 29th through May 2nd. And like I said, we got a money back guarantee. And
what's the web address for PILMMA?
PILMMA.org, PILMMA.org.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, that's a wrap for today. Ken, thanks so much. I really enjoyed getting to know you better. This has been tremendous. I love your story, and congratulations on your success, man. Tremendous.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to another fabulous episode of Behind the Bench. I hope you take action on some insight and tips you learned today. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share.